Welcome to our podcast today. Ask Aaron and Ask EJ. This is Coach EJ, the brand.
This is Coach Aaron, the source. EJ. We're gonna stir it up a little bit today. Maybe we'll offend some particular people, maybe we won't. Who cares? What are
Yeah,
we talking
our
about?
subject today, man. Should you play high school sports or should you play club ball all year round? I like to say, here's our title today, Aaron. Yes to high school or no to high school?
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you start thinking about it, Aaron, and we can also dive back into a podcast we did before or talk about athletes that we've had. More and more, I see, especially at the younger age, and at the I see a lot of programs at the freshman level in sports, high school sports, not having enough athletes to have a freshman team, and sometimes not enough athletes to have a JV team, and they end up having a frosh soft team that they call a JV team. And so you start to think, where are high school sports right now? Is just the varsity level the only level, you know? So I always throw out the challenge to some athletes, hey, maybe you should not play your freshman year or your sophomore year. Or let alone if you feel like the situation on your varsity year is not going where you need it to be for you to get to a college scholarship or to play at the next level, maybe you should train year round to get to that next level, get stronger, bigger, faster. And then maybe the following year, go play for your high school team if you like to. But maybe you have your scholarship already and you don't need to play for your high school team. There's a lot of layers here, Aaron, that we can kind of uncover and kind of give some sort of clarity here. And some people may not like the subject we're talking about, but it's a reality now. With the NCAA and the portal and all that stuff, there's a reality to this now.
Yeah, the word escapes me, but I I know it's very easy. People are can look at this podcast and say, well, this is kind of, some reason why we might take this view because it, may help our businesses, but that's not the case. This is a strategy play. You guys need to understand that, sports nowadays, youth sports and navigating youth sports and going on to collegiate sports, it's about positioning. And if
Yes.
you're not understanding how to position yourself so that you can create and have access to opportunities, then at this point you kind of deserve what you get. You have to be proactive. Now, I'm not talking about fanatical. I'm not talking about being annoying and being assholes, but you have to have a plan. Just like you would plan out an athlete's academic career, you have to plan out your athletic career. And so sometimes
Yes.
that is not taking the road most traveled by everyone else. And I think there's a shift now, maybe a generational shift because the way that things were done when we were growing up is rapidly falling by the wayside for the way kids need to grow, to navigate sports now. It
Right.
just is. We kind of had a structured guardrails in your lane, really can't go outside of. This is kind of the funnel that you had to follow to get to collegiate sports.
Right.
Nowadays, that's not the case. I mean, there's a whole, whatever you want to call it, multi-million, billion-dollar youth sports industry, for good or bad, that now allows you opportunities to compete, to develop, to see other aspects of the sport, to travel, to have all these other experiences that just aren't offered by scholastic sports.
Right.
And so you've got to figure out what's the best choice for you. Now, with that, and we've complained about this, is the mentality of people being very transient and pulling the ripcord at any given obstacle, perceived or real. And it's made athletes non-committal. It's made them soft. It's made them spoiled. But with those opportunities, if you don't abuse them, you can navigate this thing successfully and get to the point where you want to be and have a smart, grounded, and successful athlete. And so, yeah, taking a look at the high school season and saying, is this really for me? Well, maybe not. And I think kids may be getting to the point where they're not as concerned about, the nostalgia of playing high school ball, um, like maybe our era, uh,
Right.
because they've got the exposure of so many outlets and they're seeing the the variety of opportunities that might be presented to them to still be able to enjoy their sport and get to whatever their ultimate destination is. Um, but like anything else, there's trade-offs. And so if you don't play high school ball, yeah, you're not going to have those high school memories. You're not going to have maybe some of those bonds that you develop, when you're playing high school sports with your buddies and memories, things. That's, you don't get something for nothing.
Hmm.
And so you and your parents have to sit down and do the math and figure out, and I don't think the parents need to make the decision for you, but I think the parents' responsibility is to put it in context and so that you understand what you're gaining, what you're losing, what are the, probabilities of being successful on this path versus the probabilities of being successful on the other path. Once all that's done, and maybe even consult a coach or a trainer, a specialist, or somebody who can also give you um, some outside counsel, impartial counsel, and then proceed. But my feeling is this: if the high school aspect is unfair, it's toxic, and it doesn't move you a step forward, then adios.
There are ways to go now, Aaron. You said it. I mean, the structure that we had, the stay in your lane, and here's the way to get collegiate sports has changed significantly. And I think now, what you just said is so like, is it toxic? Is it not getting you where you need to be? And maybe the coaches don't like you because of the way you wear your hair, all that stuff plays
Exactly.
into it. We need to adjust and adapt to it. And, we're not saying high school sports are bad here. We're not saying that. We're not saying any of that. We say there are ways that if you're in an environment that is not conducive to you moving forward, there are other ways and means to go about the process to get to the next level for whatever you want to call it. And you need to adjust. And I think you can't be afraid of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it may be outside the box, but whoever said things were inside the box,
Right.
when you're trying to get where you need to be. I think that's so important, Aaron. I'm glad you mentioned that earlier about kind of like our viewpoint and how we see things because every athlete has a plan and it could be different and to go about it in different ways is all right and it's all right for that structure. I'll tell you this, when I was growing up, and you probably can attest to this too, Aaron,
Mhm.
we used to talk to each other. That's gonna be cool when we go to high school
Mhm.
and play together.
Right.
And man, I'd like to beat our crosstown rival.
Yeah.
We play these guys in the little league, and I
Mhm.
want to have bragging rights. I
Mhm.
don't think athletes look at it that way anymore. They don't talk like that and say, "Hey, man, I can't wait to get to school. We're gonna take out that crosstown. We're gonna win our league. We're gonna go to the region, and we're gonna try to get the states." I don't know if if guys see that early in their development as an athlete in the fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, talking about it's gonna be cool when we go to high school. It's gonna be cool wearing those
Yeah.
colors. I used to, go to the high school football games or the high school baseball, basketball games of the high school I wanted to go to just to check it out and hear and just the feel. I don't know if athletes, because I ask athletes, do you go to those high school games that are in the fifth, sixth, and seventh grade? They go, no.
Yeah.
Or I ask a high school athlete, do you go to a collegiate game
Hmm.
and watch just the spirit? They go, no. And I go, why not? Well, why aren't you doing that to kind of discover what you and your friends, and this may be off tangent a little bit, but it's important. I think it's important to this subject to say, hey, do I play for my college or do I go on my own route and train and play for my high school and
Hmm.
then go on my own route to get where I need to be collegiately. So, Aaron, those are things that we talked about. And I don't know, I don't see athletes being as passionate about that anymore,
Hmm.
So that kind of that's a side note to our subject today. But I also think that, you know, players need to assess that very early in their development in high school. If this is the right place for me to get to varsity and to get to the college scene. And I think they just go through it like, oh, I'm a freshman, I'll go play freshman. And then
Hmm.
they don't really get to know the JV coach or the varsity coach.
Right.
Like they don't go and introduce themselves. I think one of the first things I tell a lot of athletes their freshman year, go meet the JV and varsity coach.
Hmm.
Get to know who they are so you can kind of assess what these guys are about. And when they see you in the hall at school, or if they see you on the field or at where you're at, they say, hey, how you doing over there? I remember you, I met you. And you start to build a relationship.
Right.
If you don't see that relationship building, guess what? Here's your plan, high school or not. So that's kind of like, a viewpoint, Aaron, a viewpoint I have.
Yeah, you mentioned a good word, communication, and actually, you guys can look up again one of our older podcasts, maybe probably about 2 years old now, but how to communicate to your coach is a good one, or how to talk to your coach,
Right.
and we go over some good ideas on how to, just kind of break the ice and
Hmm.
without being annoying and bothersome, but speaking to your adult coach.
Right.
Um, But in terms of, yeah, playing high school sports or not, that's a personal decision. Again, I always talk about being strategic when planning out your athletic career, looking, a couple steps ahead, having, contingency plans. If things don't go, left, then we got to go right. Well, what is that going to look like for us? And again, at the obviously, this might sound a little more mercenary in terms of, my take and 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 how I go about sports, but it doesn't mean that it has to be strictly business. You still want to enjoy this journey. And
Hmm.
you don't want to sacrifice that for, okay, well, I'm just going to do this. I'm just, making these kind of sterile strategic moves that aren't taking into account your own joy and fulfillment by of playing the sport, if you get what I mean. um
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so so I
Aaron, I have a question.
mhm. Yeah, go ahead.
What is the difference? And I just thought about this. You have a band at a school. You
Hmm.
have a, concert band, they have a pianist
Hmm.
and stuff. And then there's a student there that's a world-class pianist, but he chooses not to play for the high school, but
Hmm.
he chooses to go and do that later to get where they need to be. What's the difference in that? There's
Yeah.
not. And people freak out about it, about this high school or not. But think about that artist, that pianist, that
Well,
artist that wants to get where they need to be.
I mean, maybe, and this may not be a strong an analogy, but think about it academically. Well, why would you take an AP math course instead of just taking a basic math course?
Right.
You know? So let me ask you this, because I don't know the numbers, but how many athletes play college sports? What percentage?
Okay. So, okay, check this out. 7% of varsity baseball players play college baseball at any level. 7% of varsity players play college baseball at any level.
You said 7%?
7.
So that should tell you if you do what 93% of everyone else is doing, you're not going to get there.
Right.
You have to do something exceptional to be exceptional. You have to take the path, least taken than most people. And you've got to be comfortable doing that. You got to be comfortable with those choices. And that means, if everyone is just going to the strength and conditioning at the high school program, it's probably not going to be enough, unless you've got a really super program. You're going to be with everyone else. Okay.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And
Loud
what
and clear.
happens, I think, is there's a herd mentality with athletes who just think, well, okay, everyone else is doing this, so this must be okay.
Mhm.
And, this is what I'll do.
Right.
But that's fine. It will be okay. But it's not going to get you past that velvet rope.
Right.
And
Absolutely, Aaron.
and you're not going to have established those credentials to get up to the next level. So you guys always have to make a decision. And it doesn't mean you have to be doing in everything, things to the extreme, but you've got to be assessing, hey, what is this program offering me that is going to make me exceptional and put me in that 7%er, make me a 7%er. Because to
Yeah,
be honest, the work ain't over even if you make that 7%.
it's not over. You still got to make the team in college.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 7% of these. They get to college, they get a chance, but you got to stay on the team and you got to be productive. I don't know anybody that says, I'm gonna go play college baseball and I'm gonna use this as the sport we're talking about. College baseball, and I just want to be on the team.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they want to play, right? You want to go to play. You don't go there to just be on the team.
That being that 7% creates an opportunity for you.
Right.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
it. And I'd really be interested to see how many athletes who are incoming first year collegiate athletes actually get to play and how much they play over the course of their college career. That
That
would be interesting. How many fall off the first year, the second year, the third year?
Well, think of it this way, Aaron. You have 35 roster spots now. Okay.
Mhm.
And what if there's only two freshmen playing? So just do the math there. That's going to tell you how there's like one or two freshmen that play per year on a team. You don't see three or four freshmen starting on a collegiate team. You just don't see that.
Right.
Okay. You don't. So you figure you got a 35-man roster and two kids are playing. That's less than 1%, man.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, just when you start to think about it and the numbers and how good you have to be and the way you get there, look, whether you play high school or not, it's tough. So go ahead and make a decision that is going to at least help you get to that 7% if you're just talking about baseball. Track and field is great. I love track and field because if you don't run a time, you don't make it. If you don't run a time or you're not the fastest in the heat, you don't make it. It's simple, you know? And that's the best thing I love about track and field because it just tells you first, second, third, and a
Right.
time,
Right.
you know? And, I just think that, athletes, parents out there, if you're listening, understand what we're saying here today about choosing playing for your high school team and not playing there and we're not saying don't do that. All we're saying is just, hey, assess what's going on, immediately, and don't wait for it till it's too late, because when it's too late, it is late in the game and it's difficult to um you know reassess, adjust, adapt. So be smart in the beginning.
Couldn't have said it any better. I have nothing more to add.
Well, thank you again for listening. Ask Aaron and ask EJ. This is Coach Eric Johnson, the brand.
And this is Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source, asking you guys, hit that like button, hit the not like button. It all works for us. If you've got some ideas for some podcast subjects, feel free to hit us up, text us, email us, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. See you.